Welcome to the third episode of the Virtual Grip Weekly. Each week we will recap all VGN related broadcasts right here, and we'll also talk to some of the favorite drivers that you see, some of the league owners that we cover, also some of the sponsors that make everything happen here behind the scenes here at VGN. So buckle up, we got another show ahead of us. Please though, before we get on to that, please subscribe and then like the broadcast so you can stay tuned to anything that happens here on VGN. Also, if you are a league owner and you are looking to get a broadcast partner, please go out to the virtualgrip.net, find us there, fill out the form, and hopefully we can get you guys out on the air here as a part of the VGN family. This week's co-host will be none other than the Canadian Goose, John Wilson. And John is coming off a stellar season where he picked up 2 championships. One kind of got away from him, but he did get 2. And John, welcome to the broadcast. And after a great season, looks like you got your season started really nicely last week. I think you picked up a win, right?
Yes, I did, John. Thanks for having me out. I'm looking forward to this and kind of letting the people get a little bit of background about me. And I do have a win under my belt, which I'm surprised and happy to say. It's been a long time coming, but yeah, I was able to pull out one last week. And I do have a bit of a rebuttal for Soup and Ricky. I hope you guys check this out. But you were giving me a hard time about my donuts after that race there last weekend. And I just wanted to say that donuts don't win races. Racers win donuts. So just keep that in mind.
Oh, what is that old, I don't know if you've ever seen Glengarry Glen Ross. Coffee is for closers. So, yeah, donuts are for closers, right?
Yes, sir, they are.
Well, I tell you, it's very good to have you on. You're one of the folks that I had circled that I really wanted to get on here. So thank you for your time here. And hopefully you enjoy this and everybody can learn a little bit about who you are. So, but with that said, we do need to get on to the broadcast and action from Saturday night. First up, from Thompson was the SK Modifieds, and they had a 100-lap barn burner of a race. Kurt Smith was on the pole and would lead early, but the real battle was behind him between Joe Segala, Steven Spies, and Lowell Jewell. They were battling back and forth amongst themselves for a good part of the first 20-25 laps. And lap 29 would see the first caution, actually, of the race. And, John, the broadcast pointed out that when that caution came out, they were doing, the big movers of the race. You were one of them. How were you moving up? Because I was finding it pretty tough sledding to get passes done out there.
Yeah, passing was definitely at a premium. I just played the lucky card and ended up on that outside line for probably 2 or 3 of those restarts. And that allowed me to have the preferred line and kind of come up through the field that way.
Yeah, well, I'd rather be lucky than good some days. And, I think we've all been there where you think Lady Luck has flown the coop and her evil twin is sitting on your shoulder for the evening. So, nice to see you move up through the pack. And that gives you confidence, too. I don't know about you, but behind the wheel, when you start seeing yourself closer and closer to the front, you feel like you're doing something right. Do you kind of feel that same thing, no matter how you got there?
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you, last night when I was running, I think I was in 3rd behind Lowell and Kurt, and I was happy to stay there. Like, I thought, this is decent. And then that issue happened with Kurt and I guess the lap car, and I thought, okay, now I'm in 2nd, but this could be a problem.
Yeah, and on that restart though, coming out of the first one though, Kurt Smith did do something that was really neat to see, because over the off season, BRL put a brand new rule in place where the leader got to get lane choice. They could take the inside, they could take the outside. Kurt Smith was the first. We didn't see that last week, so Kurt Smith was the first to utilize that rule and get to the outside. And he would once again grab the lead and continue to dominate. And like you said, that would happen all the way up until he would tangle with lap traffic with just 4 or 5 laps to go. And it would set up a green-white checker, dash to the finish there. And John, on that green-white checker, just at the start of that, You were sitting third, not the preferred line, but still in a pretty good spot. I think last week was it that Southern National. I think third went on to win the race in a green white checker scenario. So, what is going through your mind to set up this last restart?
I was just trying to get a good jump. I figured that I think I was in second on that green white checkered restart,
Oh,
so I was on
you're
the
on the
inside
inside
line.
though. Yep.
Yeah, and I thought the guy on the outside was probably going to get a good run. So if I could either stay, close to him or maybe ahead of him, if I could get a good run off the corner, I might still have a shot at second. I knew Kurt was going to get a good jump, and the race was pretty well his to win. But unfortunately, there was some slight contact coming to the white flag, and I went off and mowed the lawn.
Yeah, that contact was part of the green white checker, and it did happen. I think coming out of turn 4 for the white flag, and and it was like I said, barn burner of a race, and it really jumbled up the top 5 when that contact happened. So good reason to go watch the race. It's an unpredictable finish, and but Kurt Smith does go on to win, and Todd Liston finishes second, and Donnie Moore will round out the podium for the SKs. And what a race, what a finish! That's 2 weeks in a row now. It's just one of those you couldn't see coming at the end of these things. So fun race to watch. It had a fantastic finish 2 weeks in a row. But after that, we all went over and we jumped in our late models there. And, Thompson, is a big track. And, even though we're running the same track, those two cars, night and day difference from everything from tire wear to even just a little bit where you're picking the throttle up, how deep you're driving the corner in. So everybody had to use that practice time wisely to adjust. And once we got through practice, Jeff Harden would go on to lead the field to the green flag in the late model race there. And we had a couple of really quick cautions in that race. But, we would actually see, after a couple quick cautions, I think within the first 10 laps, we would go on to see a pretty good green flag run into contact between Adam Shane and you, John. Do you kind of remember what happened there? And, I know you never like to make contact with a competitor.
No, I certainly don't. Like I said to Soup on our broadcast there from the first week, the Goose doesn't race that way. Yeah, I drove in a little deeper than Adam did, I think, and I just made slight contact enough, to get him loose, and I felt horrible that I did that. Like I said, I don't race like that.
Yeah, but I'm kind of curious. So one thing about I think people that don't race these cars, um, if you're tucked up behind somebody, it's really hard to see in front of them or anything else, and it's real easy to lose your points of reference, where to turn in, do all that stuff. Did any of that contribute to maybe you missing your marks a little bit?
That could have been it. I don't know. Like I said, I just feel real bad that
Yeah.
that happened.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had the same earlier, and I think I caused a wreck behind me and whatnot, and you feel bad, but yeah, because you still got the wheel in your hand, and you're ultimately responsible. But yeah, that's the only draw. Those cars are a lot of fun, but that's the only drawback. They are hard to see around if you're tucked up behind somebody. So, but anyway, we'll continue on here. And after the race leader, Harden will also take the outside. So you touched on it earlier about the outside kind of being the preferred line. You don't always see that in short track racing, especially in iRacing. The middle of the race, though, was probably the most intense that I've seen in a long time. We got a long green flag run, and then we got a couple of cautions. This is where I think, we talked about it earlier, where I managed to get into a little bit of a kerfuffle with Lowell and somehow pirouetted on the track, but it caused mayhem behind us. And I don't know if you got caught up in that or not, John. Or I think you came out. I think that helped you, didn't it?
No, definitely did not.
Oh, didn't help. Okay.
I checked up because that was going on, and I don't know. I can't remember who was behind me. Maybe Ruben or Aiden might have been. And because I checked up, and of course, like you said, when you're that close, you can't see what's going on in front of you. and they got into the back of me, and then I think a third car hit Aiden, and I ended up upside down.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah,
never good to go wheels up,
yeah, that
especially on
definitely didn't
track.
help.
No, that doesn't help. And and the funny thing we touched on that is I think early in the race, I think Steven Spies got into a wreck, and they were actually on the broadcast talking about the show the in car from Spies where he had a guy in front of him. There was a wreck in front of them. The guy pulled away to the inside to miss the wreck, and like Steven, all of a sudden, boom! There's a car in front. Nothing you can do. So, yeah, that accident looked like that had a lot going on like that because that wreck lasted what 20 seconds. I mean, it was like a highway where there's some fog or something. The cars just kept piling into the wreck. um, so very difficult to see in those cars, but once we got the track cleared and we were able to go back racing, we would have another late race caution that would once again set up a green white checkered finish that would completely jumble the top five. Jeff Harden would actually hold on to win this race. Donnie Moore, once again, another solid performance by Donnie. The podcast bump, I'm starting to think it's a thing. And then Todd Liston, he would round out the podium here. So, um, but the good news is, John, I said it helped you, and you said it didn't, but I think it did. I think we're going to one of the toughest tracks to pass on at Hickory, and because of that wreck, you finished 15th, and you've got the pole.
Yes, yes, I most definitely do.
So yeah, congratulations on that, and yeah, John, you've been part of BRL now for a couple of years, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong. You came into the league racing dirt. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I started with BRL in January of 2020 and came in in the dirt street stocks.
We miss those, by the way. Well, right
Just
now,
a little bit.
yeah, just a little bit. We miss those. So there's our our dirt plug for for the night. But yeah, you were able to do that and really improved. And then you came over and because obviously dirt went away, and you stuck with BRL and you started racing the asphalt stuff. Tell me about the learning curve because John, quite frankly, when you came in, you were middle back of the pack driver to be honest, but now you're running for championships and winning races. Tell me that progression. How did you improve so much?
A lot of help from a lot of guys and a lot of patience. I learned pretty quick that you don't win races in the first 15 laps, not when they're 100 laps long. So taking your time to get through that field, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does, and let everybody know that's practice and patience out there, and and you don't see that very often in this day and age. Most folks just plug and play and whatnot. So practice does pay off, and yeah, like I said, you've been one of the most improved drivers. I can list about three or four that I've seen from being a broadcaster that I've just seen their progression. Um, where did you come along, and where did you feel like, okay, I'm that your goal. I'm going to assume that you might have been goal to maybe get a top 10 or at least make the invert. Where along the ways did you go from that to your goal maybe being a top five or winning?
It probably took, 3 or 4 seasons before I thought, I might be all right at this. Um, like I said, I just started taking my time and making moves when I could. And things started to get a little easier. I got a lot of help from Matt Hoos. He ran practice on the asphalt week in and week out, and I tried to make it to every one of those. Um, and yeah, it's starting to pay off.
Well, it is, and it's exciting to watch you week in and week out challenge. And I'll tell you though, and I hate to bring it up, but one of the biggest disappointments had to be last season and having that late model championship taken in that final race kind of from you. Um, you won two championships, and I know that one will probably stick out just a little bit. But tell me the mindset. How long did it take you to kind of put that in the rearview mirror? Was it a day, a couple of days, when you won that first race coming out of the box the next season? Um, how long does it take you to put that back there, and or is that something you're just always going to have in the back of your mind?
I think it's still there now, to be honest with you. But you have to just kind of put it aside and take each race at a time. Yeah, it hurt, um, especially to lose it by 1 point. It just means one race with one better finish, and the result would have been different.
Yep, yep. And then you start replaying all the races for the season. Where could I got that one spot? but
Yep, yeah, one DNF or one, just one spot better.
well, let me ask. What kind of setup are you using? Are you a single monitor guy? Are you triples? Are you in VR? What kind of wheel and all that kind of stuff. What do you use to get you around the track?
Well, I'm now currently on a Quest 2 VR headset. I used to, when I started, I ran single monitor. And when I finally moved to VR, I couldn't believe the difference. I had some issues with my VR and had to go back to single monitor for a couple weeks. And I can't even explain how much different that is, how much more difficult that is for me. As far as the wheel goes, I have a Moza R5 direct drive,
Mm.
and I
Is that
love
what
it.
you started with?
No, no, I started with Thrustmaster T1, T80 actually, with no force feedback. So I
Oh
ran
my
dirt
goodness.
without force feedback, and then I moved to the T150, I believe it is.
Some week, because we have this week off, that at some point you should plug that old wheel in and just try to drive it around and
I
see.
can't imagine.
You probably need to do it in an AI session too, so you don't kill anybody. But
It's the
wow,
perfect wheel for officials.
yeah, because then you drive like most everybody else in those. So, um, well, and the nice upgrade, the direct drive's a great piece of equipment, and the VR too, and you hit the nail on the head about the difference, with the upgrades and stuff like that. And thank God, thank God the stuff doesn't break when we hit the wall, or in your case, this week get upside down. But man, it's amazing. I would have never in a million years, I mean, ever imagined having what we now all do. You and a lot of other guys have put in to playing a game, and I know a lot of people don't send the hate mail at me for calling it a game. The simulation, but boy, the world's changed, hasn't it?
Oh, it certainly has. Technology has advanced so much, just even from the time before the internet.
Yeah.
And now look at what we're doing. We're racing with guys from all over the world, from all over the world.
What was your first racing? I'll call it a sim so people don't get mad at me, but a sim. What was the first that you did? Was that back through NASCAR 2000? Did you go before that? Where did you pick up and play racing games?
I used to play a lot on the old PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. I know those are console games, but my first sim was actually iRacing.
Mm. Well, I call them sims, but what console games did you do? I mean, people get sensitive about the sim to a game kind of thing, so I'm just trying to play both sides here.
I played a bit of NASCAR 2003,
Hmm.
and I can't remember what it's called. Saturday Night Speedway,
Oh,
I think it
yes,
was, the dirt racing
yes,
one. I
yes,
loved that game.
yes, yes, yes. I had that game, and actually, I think there's a couple of guys in that game, that one of the drivers that are now part of iRacing. Actually, um, yeah, that Saturday Night Speedway was the best. It's Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I'm gonna go all the way back to running the World of Outlaws PC game, and even before that, the sprint car game that they came out with. I think that was part of that dirt track game. I think you had late model. Wasn't that dirt track? No, the Saturday night was on PlayStation.
Yeah,
On
it was on PlayStation. They had
Yeah, the computer
late
game.
models, and did it have sprint cars?
I don't remember. I know they had street stocks for sure. Um, the first one had street stocks. They had big blocks on late models. The Saturday Night 2, or no, the Dirt Track Racing 2 had those three. But yeah, but nonetheless, 20 some odd years ago, those were, and I think the first one that I ever played was actually the old Indy 500 game, like around '92 or something like that. So it's amazing what everything has come from, and um, but going back to your equipment upgrade and all that, now that you kind of really got your feet under you here, you've won some races, you've got a couple of championships. Does that change your outlook and your expectations coming into the season here? I mean, is it championship or bust, or you like I'm a want a top five kind of guy? What kind of expectations do you set for yourself?
Probably like everybody, a championship would be awesome. Um, but like I said, getting that first win under my belt, that was huge. Um, yeah, those the mini stock and legends championships were cool, but to get one of these broadcasted ones, I think they are a little more coveted.
Yes.
So getting one of those would be really cool.
Well, I think you're well on your way to grabbing one of them, and if not both of them, just because of your consistency and everything else. But the sim world is not the only place that you've experienced racing. What other racing experiences have that you've had?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate enough to live about 10 minutes away from the Brighton Speedway, which is a third of a mile clay oval. And I went there, with my dad and my uncle as a kid. So in 2018, a friend of mine asked me if I would be basically the crew chief on his Comp 4 or mini stock. And we ran that car for about 2 seasons, I think. And they talked about the class going away. And my friend didn't want to give up. So he moved up to, I guess they're called a Canadian modified, which I guess would be more of an equivalent to your B mods because they run a crate motor.
Yep, that would be the B mods. Yep.
Yeah, so there's a different. The difference is they run a 10-inch tire.
Oh,
So we have the crate motor with a 10-inch tire, and they have a gear rule so that everybody's running the same gear. A lot like BRL with our fixed setup. Um, and yeah, we did that for about 2 years, and that was a lot of fun.
but that's not the only thing going on around the racetrack there. I think there's a memorial race coming up here. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what's your involvement in that?
Yeah, every year, the Speedway does a memorial race there that's called the Danny Reed Memorial. It's a 50 lap race for the modifieds, and the reason they do it is because Danny Reed, he was a long time racer at the Speedway, and he actually unfortunately passed away at the track in his race car, and his son was also in the car, in another car behind him. They
Oh,
both pulled into the infield, and that's where Danny actually passed away. I was there as a fan, so that was kind of my departure, I guess, from the track for a long time before I came back to help my friend as a crew chief.
does Brighton do any broadcast? Because I know a lot of different racetracks now are like on Flow or any of that. Is that race going to be streamed on anything? Do you know?
Not that I know of. It won't be till the end or closer to the end of the season if it is. But the reason I brought it up, uh, the last memorial that we ran in, um, the fellow who drove the car for us, he can basically, he's one of those guys, you put him in a car and he'll get it to the front. And we asked him, between the heat race and the feature, what do you want us to do? And he said, tighten it up as tight as you can get it. And we kind of looked at him like, how are you going to drive it? And he said, for the first 25 laps, it's going to be a handful. But for the second half, you'll see what I'm talking about. So we did what he said. and he drove that car. I think he started seventh, dropped back a little bit. He got all the way up to second. And we talked earlier about bad luck. We had a wire come off in the dash, and the car died.
No. Wow, it's cool to be in the pit area and all that kind of stuff. I know, are you still active in doing that, or is this kind of more now your full time foray into motorsport?
No, yeah, they race on Saturday nights, so if I go do that, I can't be here.
Gotcha. Well, it's funny. The only thing that I miss about being at the racetrack myself, and having driven and everything else, is being in the pit area and the camaraderie. But BRL, you get all of that. Hanging out in the Discord and all that kind of stuff. Are you finding that to kind of scratch that itch? You get your the competitive side out of the way, and in the everybody in the league, it's a great group of guys. So do you find that you're kind of getting all that stuff from the BRL?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even like when I first started, everybody has been so friendly across the board. Never have a bad thing to say about anyone. Um, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and the cool thing is too. I mean, everybody's been. You're still like one of the newer guys, and you've been now with the league. You said so in 2020. You're still like one of the newer guys. That's the crazy thing about the league. Yeah, everybody's been in there for multiple years, not just multiple seasons, but years. Do you kind of still feel like that new kid on the block 4 years in?
I do actually a little bit. Um, I have seen a few guys come and go since I started, but I still feel like I'm not a rookie per se, but I certainly don't have the experience of Lowell and Donnie and Matt Hoos and yourself and Ryan and those fellas.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that makes. I think that actually adds to the fun of the league and everything else, and actually adds to the product on the track. So, um, well, John, is there any other hobbies you like doing? Like fishing, hunting, camping, bird watching? Is there anything else that you have, or is sim your hobby?
It's
Sim
pretty
race.
much my main hobby. I do a little bit of fishing, not as much as I used to. But yeah, I think sim racing is pretty well my number one.
Well, I know you're north of the border and whatnot. How often do you get to the southern part of the border, and do you ever, have you met any of your fellow sim racers? I guess from either side or anything like that.
I have not actually.
Hmm.
A few of us have talked about it, but yeah, I work too much to do a whole lot of traveling. So yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to meet anybody yet.
Yeah, because I think the reason why I was asking about the border, because I think you're the lone BRL driver that's from Canada, at least.
Actually, there's three.
Oh, there's three. Who else is above there out there?
Scott Negus, he's relative very new,
Hmm.
and Marino Valente.
Oh, oh, very very cool. Well, good to have all you guys on there. For a while, you were the only one, though. I will say
Yeah,
that.
for the longest time.
Yes, yes, yes. So, but you mentioned work and you do a lot of work. What is it that you do? Tell us a little bit about what you do when you're not racing with your hobby.
So I am a welder and fabricator. Um, I started my own business in, oh geez, I want to say 2019. I don't know. It's been a while. Thanks to COVID, things got slowed down quite a bit. But we're through that now. And the guy that I subcontract through, we've just started a major project at one of the penitentiaries here in Ontario.
Wow. Well, so what exactly are you doing though? I mean, the welding, all that. Is there? I don't know how to word it. Maybe a particular discipline or specialty that you do.
No, I TIG weld. I also stick weld and MIG weld. Um, we are in the process of putting stainless steel in all of the showers in the prison. So we go in. They've taken all the tile off the wall, and we've put sheets of stainless up there, basically like you're drywalling, but with stainless steel.
Oh wow.
And then, of
Well,
course, all of the seams have to be welded solid.
yes. Well, that's very, very cool, and then that good to hear. I guess job security. Good to hear. It keeps you busy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this job could last us up to about 8 months.
Do you guys stay right in Ontario, or do you guys travel all over Canada, or even come down here to the States?
No, yeah, we just stay right in Ontario. There's only two of us at the shop, so we're pretty small.
They're pretty
But
local.
jobs like this one really help us out.
Oh, very, very cool. It's now I feel like I know you totally here. Next time I'm on the track, I'm behind you. I'm gonna know and know your face and all that kind of good stuff. So very, very cool. And the last thing I guess I want to talk to you about is we'll go back to iRacing here for just a second. What is your favorite discipline in iRacing? Is it running the SKs or the late models or is it dirt? What's your favorite discipline? I forgot to ask that earlier.
Well, like you said earlier, I know it's gone away, but dirt is always probably going to be my favorite. Like I said, there's a track 10 minutes from my house, so that's what I grew up around. So that's probably my favorite.
Yes. So I think what I heard there is we need dirt back in VRL. I think that's what I heard right now. Lowell somewhere in his head just exploded, well, is there a particular class? Because I know like Oshweek and their big attraction, which is nearby you, is the sprint cars. You said Brighton. What is the top class out there in Brighton?
Late model. I guess it would be similar to the limited late model. They run a crate motor as well, so that's why I kind of think
Yeah,
they'd
they're
be like
pro
a
late
limited
models.
late.
Yeah, pro late models,
Um,
crate late models is what they'd be here.
yeah,
Well, very, very cool. Well, John, I want to thank you for your time here and getting to know you and all that kind of stuff. And what a cool conversation. And I do hope you enjoyed the just having a little bit of conversation with me. But we have one bit of business left here, and it's not going to be next week, but due to the holiday here, we're going to have next week off on track. But then we're going to go to Hickory in 2 weeks. And Hickory is one of the smallest tracks we're going to go to. I think it's like a .363 oval, and the SKs have only been there. It's a newer track on iRacing, so not a big history. The SKs I think have been there 6 times. I think the late models 3 times. Donnie Moore is going to be the only driver that's expected with a win in the modifieds. I think some guys to kind of watch for with that limited history, Jeffrey Hard and Steven Spees, they both have fifth place finishing averages there. So those guys are going to be um, someone that we're going to have to watch out for. And John, you've got one start I saw. You finished 11th after starting third. I don't know if you remember the race or that much about Hickory and the SK, but what do you recall about if anything, about that race?
I actually don't remember, so I think I'm going to have to go back and watch it too, and maybe see what I did wrong because there must have been something.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back to the broadcast been there, and I do think it's a very bottom dominant track. The outside might work for like a lap or two, but I know iRacing's made some changes, all that kind of stuff. So who knows when we get there? With surface model and stuff like that, and tires but yeah, in the SKs, I remember it was a very bottom dominant track, and I think you even said earlier it's a track kind of where you kind of have to make something happen to get passes done there.
Yeah, I know. I've said that the goose doesn't race that way, but I guess maybe if he
Well,
has to.
but there's a difference between, hey, let me through before I have to put you and me in a bad spot, and just knocking somebody out of the way, and sending them to the wall or to the pit area. There's a different way to do that, and I think the clean way like that, just a simple nudge, whatever. I think that etiquette's okay anyway.
Just no three wides on lap one.
Oh no, no, yeah, that's definitely there'd be a no-fly zone there because someone's not going to come out the other side of that. So But going over to the late model side, we've only had 3 races there. The late models are relatively new. Hickory, relatively a new track. So, not a lot of history, but we do have a driver that's expected to be in the field. Jeffrey Harden does have a win there. But we also have some other drivers that have had some pretty good luck there, and that's Jason Menda, who's got about a 7th place finish. Joseph Snyder, about a 6th place finish, and John, you have about a 6th place finishing average there. So this has been a good track for you in the late model. Do you have any recollection of your starts there? Because you do have a top 5. I know that there.
No, I saw that in the note that you sent me there a little bit earlier, and I was like, oh, really? So yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it. And
Why do I think if you would have gotten wrecked there, like on lap 1, you'd remember?
I believe so.
Very well.
We do that, don't we?
Yep. You not only would remember, you remember the lap that happened, the driver that did it, the circumstances, the whole 9 yards. But that's a racer's mentality, though, right?
Oh yes, it's every race, as it comes, as it goes. Each race is a new day, new event, and just try to concentrate on that one, not on the past ones.
Absolutely. Well, John, I tell you, it has been an absolute pleasure to get to know you here a little bit. And again, as I said earlier, I really cannot thank you enough for your time. I can't wait to roll this out and let everybody see it. And I'll tell you this, we're gonna, even though we're off next week on track, Virtual Grip Network, Virtual Grip Weekly will be on air again next week. And again, before I get too far into that, please like and subscribe so you are reminded of it. But next week, if all things line up right, we are going to jump into the Wayback Machine and bring an old friend of the BRL on studio here, not studio, on air here with us. And I really hope this will be happening. I can't let the cat out of the bag yet until we know for sure. But if it all lines up, it is going to be a show worth seeing for sure. So we hope to see you then. Once again, if you do have any kind of broadcast needs, please reach out to virtualgrip.net. We'll be happy to set you up and contact with you and talk about what we can do for you. And with that said, though, thank you guys for joining. And we also would like to wish everybody a happy, safe Independence Day and Canada Day, which is this week too, right, John? I think it's Monday,
yes,
right?
Sir. Actually, Monday, yeah.
Do you, just real quick, do you guys do fireworks, or is there any traditions that could go along with Canada Day? Canada Day?
There's a huge fireworks display everywhere.
So it's the same as here in the States.
Yeah, I guess it would be our equivalent to your 4th of July.
Very good. Well, John, once again, thank you very much, and thank you for giving your time up. And also, I want to thank everybody who's watched us here again. We will see you next week.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me out.